Hello, happy St. Patrick's Day. I would like to read to you a live reading from Steampunk Leap Year, which is my book of short stories, and it's thematic, so there are 12 stories, one for each month, and each month has a little theme to it. So let's get right to it for St. Patrick's Day. This story is called Mr. Caibler, and of course everybody can say hello to Lamar. Lamar likes to help me read. Mr. Caibler. Mr. Caibler turned the faded signs. Oh my gosh. Stage fright. Wow. Seriously? Stage fright? Come here. Oh, that's some massive stage fright. Anyway, Mr. Caibler turned the faded signs to closed with his knobby fingers. He lit the gaslight and carried it over to his workbench. His own shoes were bare with worn soles, yet he precisely cut the last of his leather and laid it out lovingly for the next day's work. Arthritis had slowed him down this year, and the new shoe factory in County Cork had enticed even his most loyal customers away from his little shop. Machines stamping out unoriginal copies spewed billows of black muck throughout the Emerald Hills. Devoid of the specialized embroidery and detailed cobbling, this manufactured footwear bore a smaller price tag than Mr. Caibler's creations. And so, the shoemaker took his tea with a heel of brown bread for supper and fell asleep in his cane with his bare feet resting on the plush hassock. His light went out. Green eyes gleamed in the darkness. Morning dawned with man's face. He opened his eyes and blinked hard at the reflections spiraling like fairies upon the walls. He stood with some effort, feeling easy. His eyes alighted upon his workbench, and he inhaled a new breath of joy. Laid out in neat rows were finely stitched shoes, ladies' dress slippers of silk and beads, stiff leather boots with rabbit fur insoles, dainty clogs emblazoned with ruby-stitched roses and tassels, and along the pegs of the wall, which were just yesterday devoid of material, there hung yards of velvet ribbon, reams of lamb's hide, and lengths of leather enough to shod the entire county. Tears of thankfulness and amazement blurred Mr. Caibler's vision. He leaned on the workbench, momentarily weakened by the powerful gratitude he felt ere this miracle. They must have been brownies, precious and honored. The morning kettle was brought to boil. His windows were graced with the fanciful footwear, and he was trimming materials for new artistic creations. Parishioners on their way to morning mass were halted. Each pair in the shop had been purchased, and new orders were placed. These shoes outdid anything the skilled tradesmen had previously created, and word spread quickly among the town's elite. Mr. Caibler cut, sewed, pounded, and sealed shoes of all sorts that day. His vigor was raised by fresh opportunities, but even so, by the time the gas lamps turned on throughout the town, the old man was well worn out. "I've much work left to do in the morning, by grace. Firstly, though, I must thank those wee ones for their blessing." Clearing his workbench, the man threaded silk through suede, adding shining garnishes of brass beads and buckles, and soled the miniature shoes with hand-polished wood. He looked upon his tiny works of art with pride, and he smiled to himself. These dainties would be fit for the royalty of elves. Those good little ones deserve this gift, and I will be ever grateful for their kindness. Again, as the night before, the old gent fell asleep on his rocker. His tea grew cold, and his candle melted to a wisp of, and again the glow of green eyes shone in the shoemaker's cottage. When Mr. Caibler awoke the next morning, he was greeted with the sight of a second miracle upon his workbench. Rows of footwear for elegant men, tall button boots with crimson cloth tops, half boots with pearly buttons and thick hooks, narrow-toed shoes accompanied by buckle-strapped spats, and along the pegs hung braids of indigo, layers of kid hide, and baskets of buttons in every color of the rainbow. The old man dabbed his eyes with his kerchief and whispered a prayer of thanks. The day continued in much the way as the previous one, with window shoppers and gawking children. More orders came in for children, fancy dress, and shiny indulgences. Even the mayor herself appeared personally to be fitted. That night, the old man crafted another array of teeny shoes, glimmering with jeweled beads and shined leather. "Those brownies are my little angels," he whispered as he set the last pair down. Then he drifted off into cozy dreams of soft leather, silk thread, and smooth heels. Green eyes like lanterns peered through the dimness of flickering flames. And so the routine continued. Swirling March winds gave way to gentle zephyrs, providing ample opportunity for the shoemaker to release his artistic talent into new designs for spring. His shop became full of eager customers, renewed in their appreciation for fine footwear that the factory simply could not produce. The cobbler was able to keep the price for his wares competitive with the smoky factory because of his gifted supplies and his generous free labor. Each night he fastidiously thanked his wee benefactors with creations made with talent and grace. 16 nights passed thusly, and just past midnight on the 17th day, Mr. Caibler finished his 4th cup of black tea. Curiosity prickled his bones, and his desire to thank his benefactors overwhelmed his spirit. He peeked towards his workbench. His eyes met the stare of flashing green. Faster than he believed himself able, the cobbler rocked up from his chair and shuffled to the workbench. There, a dozen wee men, not taller than his shortest boot, stood frozen in anticipation. Each little man held a tiny hammer. "Fear not, dear little ones," Mr. Caibler cooed. "I wish only to thank you personally for rejuvenating my business and uplifting my life. No luckier man is there than I to have brownies like you." At this, the little men marched forwards across the workbench with their hammers aloft their shoulders, like a small army. Their green coats appeared as uniforms, and their matching green hats. One small figure walked ahead of the diminutive legion. His hat was red, with a golden feather dandily stuck in the band. He approached the shoemaker, and so they were face to face, nose to nose. Pardon me. "You muttonhead," he said with the red hat. "We are not slaving, snivelling brownies." All the little men spat in indignation. "Nor are we cute cow-pied, brainwashed elves, baking cookies or crafting toys, all in subservience to blasty, nasty humans." The small crowd behind him growled. "We are the leprechauns, the chosen ones." The shoemaker went pale on the subdued threat of the hammer brandishing menaces. "I thank you, dear wee people, none the less." "Thank us?" The red hat leprechaun laughed, and his golden sizers shone in the candlelight. "You misunderstand, old man. I shall reiterate. We are not gypsy shoemaking elves. We are the powerful, the great, the tinkerers. We demand payment for our innovations." "Indeed," said Mr. Caibler, the joy in his voice replaced by a wavery fear. "I have done my best to thank you, truly. With the shoes I toiled on with the gratefulness especially for you." The red hat scowled, his bushy eyebrows meeting in an angry grimace across his face. "We want payment, not praise. Shoes are nothing to us, you foolish antique of a man. The only currency we accept is gold." "Gold, gold," murmured the other leprechauns in agreement. "But I have no gold, nor yet none to spare. I would freely share my farthings with you, and whatever coinage I receive I will split with you fairly." The red hat bared his teeth. "There is no splitting. We want our investment back, and then some." The old man was trembling now, his mind racing in desperation. "Fine as can be, we can create a partnership. 'Twill be an excellent venture together." Like frogs, the little green men hopped down from the workbench and encircled the cobbler. The red hat stayed his stance, his glare unmoving. "Don't kid yourself. This is a takeover, not a merger." "You and your kind wee folk," the old man despaired. "Please have mercy. You saved my business from the factory, and now you wish to take it away, leaving me with nothing?" The circle of leprechauns closed in, and started biting at his ankles. Our kind, mimicked Red Hat. We are our own kind. We are the kind that built the factory. We are the ones who perfected the shoemaking business. We are the ones with the talent. We are the ones, he leapt from the table to the old man's shoulders, who have made you obsolete. With a roar, the Red Hat raised his hammer and struck the shoemaker's head like a bell. His army joined his war cry and brandished their mallets, bringing the frail man to his knees, then to the time-worn floor. Throughout the night, the leprechauns hammered and sawed, sewed and cut, laced and scrubbed. St. Patrick's morning shone with a faint glow of green. The county's jubilant parade marched by with fiddles and flutes. Keeping time in the shop, a hammered dulcimer beat a rhythm with heartstrings, deep in the chest of the shiny shoemaker, mechanized with golden gears and handsomely finished in the softest leather. With unceasing precision, the humanoid bot procured endless pairs of exquisite foot finery. Between the bustling factory and the one-of-a-kind talent of the new and improved tireless shoemaker, Cork became the biggest producer of footwear in all of Ireland, and it is said that the shoes all glinted with gold. So that's my weird little story for St. Patrick's Day, and that's from Steampunk Leap Year. And I hope you enjoyed this reading, and if you are interested in purchasing this book, you may look on my website, www.jessicalucci.org, or you can go on my Amazon page. Just go to Amazon, type in Jessica Lucci, Lucci, and you'll come to my page. And I think it's about time I bring Blue back so I can read another story to her. My little Blue Lamar was too shy, but that's okay. It's all right to be shy. So, again, I hope you enjoyed this reading, and happy St. Patrick's Day.